The first one comes from a husband who's struggling to connect emotionally with his wife. So he wants to learn how to do that without shutting down. And he asks, I grew up in a home where displays of emotion were distrusted and ridiculed. And I developed the necessary habit of protecting myself emotionally, but suppressing emotions like a Vulcan. However, this has made communication and marriage difficult for me. I know I'm safe with my wife, but I still find emotional intensity difficult to cope with. After we have sex, I feel an immense emotional drop off that leaves me feeling depressed and distant, sometimes for several days. The emotional vulnerability and intensity of sex seems to overwhelm me. This is difficult for my wife, who often feels rejected after. She is gracious and understanding, but I want to overcome this cycle, but I'm not sure how.
Man,
Ooh.
that's tough. And I'm sorry for the kind of home he grew up in where displays of emotional vulnerability were taught that it's not safe to behave that way. And I love this question because a lot of men, generally speaking, struggle with learning how to connect emotionally. It's like the only emotions we're allowed to have are angry, joy, and horny, if that's an emotion, right? Like anything
Mhm.
outside of that is considered weak. And so he's probably taught it's not safe to show any emotion like fear or disgust or uncertainty. Like those are really powerful emotions that can guide our lives if we let them, but those aren't safe. So he's learned really how to shut them down and suppress them. But the thing about emotions, and research backs this up, is emotions are felt, they're like stored in our body. It's like body intelligence, not just in our mind. So when we don't fully process an emotion, it doesn't quite go away. It gets recorded in our body. And over time, it can stack up and it can manifest itself in unhealthy ways. Like in this situation, after a very emotionally intense situation, like with his wife, he needs to disconnect. He needs to create distance between him and his wife just to feel safe about himself. But it's a compound problem because distancing himself from his spouse makes it think like, I shouldn't be distancing myself from my wife. Why am I doing this? And then to add a layer of, maybe the guilt and shame he feels about that. So this problem just keeps perpetuating itself. It doesn't quite ever resolve if he keeps behaving in this way.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like he's trying to avoid that emotional intensity, but by distancing from his wife, it kind of creates that emotional intensity that he's seeking to avoid. And then that cycle just keeps going, which is really challenging to navigate.
Yeah. So the way out of this is I'm guessing you have enough awareness if you're gonna ask these questions, you have an inkling of what your next step is, but what to do is not gonna feel great, so you're looking for a shortcut, and my answer is there is no shortcut. It just is gonna take an incredible amount of courage for you to stay in that open, vulnerable state and not run away. It's gonna freak you out because everything inside you is gonna say, "Create distance, run away, this isn't safe," and you have to learn how to, as I say, calm the heck down, right? Learn how to take deep breaths or center yourself or whatever it is, whatever skill you can acquire here to really calm down the anxiety inside of you and stay present and open in that vulnerable state if you're gonna ever get out of this and break this habit.
Yeah. And something, Dan, that I was thinking of is it's okay to communicate with your spouse that you're feeling that emotional intensity and vocalize the impulses that you're having to pull away in that moment. You can be like, hey, I'm really trying hard not to create distance, but I really want to right now. Can we talk about this? Can we connect in this way and like help ground each other in that moment? This would be uncomfortable to do if you're not used to sharing emotional situations with your spouse, but it is totally okay to work towards being honest with your spouse in that moment of, I'm feeling overwhelmed emotionally and this is hard for me. You can 100% say that to your spouse. It helps
Yeah.
them to understand what's going on for you.
That's great. That's excellent. I love that. Hopefully that's helpful for him. We also do a deep dive into emotions, understanding our emotions, how to, especially for men, how to connect emotionally with their spouse, how not to run away from emotions that might scare us that we're experiencing. All that's in our Get Your Marriage On program. We go that in depth with step by step methods and how to learn how to connect more emotionally with our spouses. If you have a question, you can go to getyourmarriageon.com, click on resources and anonymous question. That comes to me, and we will do our very best to address those in upcoming podcast episodes. email newsletters, on our Instagram or Facebook groups, wherever you can find us.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, or even comment below, and go see what other wonderful videos we have that will help you strengthen your marriage intimately.